A new year and new projects. Well, some of them older projects, but nonetheless, it's a new year, a new start, and got to get right back to it, I guess. That's kind of the way it goes. So let's kind of take a look at how everything did on the 65 Galaxie after the power tour. This is the first time I really put it up in the air after the tour. I know the transmission was acting okay. I know, like in that last video where I kind of did an overview on my plans for this year, I hadn't touched the car, honestly. It came back from power tour. It sat right there until I moved it over here, and then this morning all I did was rack it up. So this car really hasn't gone anywhere since the power tour. So this is the first time I really had a good look underneath of it. This morning when I put it up in the air, there was a lot of transmission fluid on the floor, a lot of leaks everywhere. Let me get you in here and I'll show you what's going on. Of course, we know the transmission is just gone in this car, but you can see oil everywhere. At first I was thinking the pinion was leaking, but honestly, I don't think the pinion's leaking. This is all transmission fluid, all the way. It was all the way down the drive shaft and all the way down underneath there, underneath the bottom of the axle was all transmission fluid. So see, the floor pans are covered in transmission fluid. You can see the seal. It actually created so much pressure that the seal actually started to come out. Which, yeah, that's a new one for me. I haven't seen that before. So, and then the throw-up tube on the transmission has a lot of fluid hanging off of it. So this tranny's just not doing good. It is really hurting. But, you know, the main reason I want to get it up in the air is to change those exhaust donuts. So if you can see up there, let me try and get you way up there. There you go. You see the nuts missing. And then on that one, same thing. Nuts missing. So hopefully I didn't break somebody's windshield. I'd feel bad if I did that. But, you know, everything else looks pretty good. No brake fluid anywhere, a lot of transmission fluid. The nuts on this one were both there. I did take that top nut off. I know you guys can't really see it because it's kind of dark. But the top nut is missing. I just took it off. So really there was only two nuts holding it on, and both of them looked to be backed off. So even this side was blown out, which is the passenger side, and it was leaking. So my plan today is to drop the center section here. And you can see, like I was saying before, I put the V-band clamps at the mufflers so that I could do that. Whenever you guys are getting your exhaust done, you know, pay the extra whatever it is to do that. I think this whole exhaust system, I paid for the mufflers and the glass packs, but I think the whole thing installed was like 750 bucks. He provided the V-band clamps and made the flanges and stuff in the front. It's not the, you know, it's not the most perfect high-end luxury whatever exhaust. It's still, you know, aluminized or whatever. Not mandrel bent. It's just regular bent. But a nice exhaust system. He did a really good job. So 2.5 inch all the way over the axles and stuff. Everything turned out real nice. So you know, it's real close to the airbags, but the airbags held up. So yeah, oil everywhere under this car. It's got so much transmission fluid. Look at it all on the fuel tank. Everywhere. So there's probably a lot of people that got a little bit of moisturizer on the front of their car. You know, I can't, well, you know, see it dripping. Let me get you out of the, see the little drop right there? Yeah, it's everywhere. So, I mean, at least it's not going to rust. You know, you always got to find the positive in everything. You know, the brakes look good. So those turned out, you know, really nice, of course. Wow, oh wow. Look at that. I smashed that brake line. It must have got down here. Oh wow. A little too long. Yeah, completely smashed. Wow. So when I turned, this must have dropped down right here on the limiter and got crushed. Let's check this side. See what happened. Oh yeah, right there too. Yep, both of them. So those are 16-inch braided steel. And when I ordered them, hang on, let me grab a rag because I got a bunch of goo on me. When I ordered those, I thought, man, you know, 16 inches is a little long. I measured the ones that were on there, and the rubber hoses were only like 12 inches or something like that, 13 inches. I thought, man, but I mean, that's what they recommended. So I ordered what they recommended. And as you can see, too long. Now, could I position them maybe differently? I mean, maybe. And I don't know exactly where. Oh, I can see that's, so if I just raise that up. So these are 16. I think I'm gonna go, I have a set of 14s over there on the shelf. I like stealing parts apparently. I have some 14s over there for the El Camino. So I'll probably steal those and then order up a new set of 14s for the El Camino, because obviously, you know, you can't drive with crushed brake lines. That's just not going to work. Quick, easy fix too. I mean, it's, you know, it's all AN fittings, so you just twist it off, twist the new one on, done. And then if it crushes it again, which it shouldn't, because there's only like a pad, like maybe like that big, that arm actually comes in and hits it. So where it actually got into it, you know, I don't know, but you know, it had to be somewhere in there. But you know, as the wheel goes up and down, you know, with bumps and, you know, the car swaying, that kind of stuff. Right now, it doesn't look like it would hit, but you know, you load that side and you turn the wheel at the same time, and that brake line's going to be down and get crushed. So I'll put some 14s on it and see what happens. If it crushes them after that, then I'll just have to figure out, you know, do I gotta reposition them? Do I gotta reclock the little thing hanging out of the back of the doohickey? I don't know. So, but you know, that's stuff you find on a shakedown. So it's project cars. Most of you guys probably know that. You know, you measure, you figure, you do all this stuff, and then in the end, you always find broken stuff. It's fine, it ain't gonna hurt nothing. Man, when they welded the frames back in the day, there was just a lot of slag. I swear, and that's the way it was, I think. I don't think that was cut out and changed. Doesn't look like it. You know, you gotta wonder, because this side of the car was hit. And I don't see any buckling. Could they have cut that part of the frame off and replaced it? Man, that would have been a lot of work to do that. Like, this isn't buckled, that's not buckled. I think it's just bad welds. I mean, it looks like somebody got under here with a stick welder and just started making the 4th of July. Yeah, it's still got that pattern. It all looks, I mean, it don't look pretty, but it's there, definitely. Car drives straight, so I don't know. You know, when I go to powder coat the frame, I'll get under there with a, you know, strip the frame down bare and then take a flapper disc to it and smooth out all of those nasty looking welds. On this one over here, I'll probably run the welder across it again too, because them guys blew some holes in it. Yeah. Huh. Yeah, I'll probably, you know, clean it up, make it look nice and pretty. Yeah, powder coat something. You might as well take the extra, what, couple days to go over it with a flapper disc and smooth it out first. I mean, powder coating ain't cheap. I don't know what it's going to cost to powder coat that frame, but I can't see it being very cheap. So, you know, take the extra time. I forgot my hat today too. So, okay. So I know I said that I needed to scrub the shop down, and then the immediate next thing was going to be the 7-liter. However, you know, I went to move this car and got in to fire it up, and I thought, you know what? I've got the gasket sitting right there. It's not that hard to go ahead and just replace, especially with a hoist. Now, last time I did it on the ground, it was a pain. You're laying underneath it trying to, you know, craziness. Up here, not bad. So, so I thought, well, you know, let me just throw the donuts in it. And then when I got it up and I started looking at it, I realized that, oh yeah, that's right. I gotta change the nuts. Let me grab a nut for you real quick. So this was the nut that I took off of it. It's just a standard nut. Nothing special about it. Now, I don't know if this was the factory nut or if this was just a nut that somebody had put on at one point. You'll find exhaust flanges have, like, a lot of them are different. I know GM, back in the 80s and stuff, I don't know when they stopped or started. But some of the cars, they would put look like a valve spring with a washer and stuff, and then they would run the nut up there. And the purpose behind that was that because when the motor gets hot, especially running it down the freeway at $3,000 for an hour, you know, all this stuff is going to get hot and start to expand. And then that's how you get the leaks. Once the leak starts, it doesn't matter if the nut came loose or not. Once that leak starts, you're done. It'll blow that gasket right out. So what GM did was they put what looks like a valve spring, and then they put that on first, and they did a washer, and then they did a nut behind that, and they'd run that down tight. So as those parts would start to heat up and expand, that spring would still hold pressure on that flange and keep that gasket sealed. I'm not sure exactly what Ford did on these. I've got my yellow 7-liter out there with a manifold just hanging. I thought, you know, I can go out and look at that thing. Doesn't really matter what it looks like because I don't have any of the parts. You try and look them up online and, you know, it's nothing. You get nothing. It's all a bunch of Chevy junk. So, or 80s Ford stuff, you know. You type in, you know, 1965 Ford FE exhaust flange gaskets or exhaust flange bolt, right? And what you get is just random crap. I don't understand. Like, if your search didn't result anything that had that exact thing, say that in there, you know. And maybe there's some computer guy out there yelling at the screen right now going, it does. You just got to look right here. You know, every time I go to search, it gives you a whole list of crap, and then you start clicking on it, and especially Summit loves to do this too. You click on something that like, oh, that looks like it, and you click on it, and then come to find out it's for like an 80s Chevy Camaro or something. It's like, dude, why is it even in the search? It makes stuff harder, but that's my whining for today, I guess. So yeah, this is the nut. So what my plan is they make a what's called a pinch nut. It's a mechanical locking nut. And so basically it's a nut that looks like this, and then what they did was they stuck it in a punch die that actually just punches the top of it, and what it does is it just kind of compresses it in a little bit so it pinches right at the top. So when you put it in at the bottom, it's got a nice little kind of built-in washer flange to it, and as you thread it in the bottom, it's not pinched there, so it threads in real nice. There goes that. Never see that again. it threads in real nice, and then when you get to that pinch part, it locks. And so it's not enough to destroy the stud or anything else like that, but it's just enough to grab and pinch and mechanically lock that nut into place. Now the problem with these flanges are, if you noticed, the pipes are, this is 2.5 inch. When he brought it up there, I know he necked it down. It's probably like 2 inch at the neck. If I remember right, stock on these was like 1.75 inches or something like that. And so even with that 2 inch neck down at the collector, it's still really wide, which doesn't leave me a lot of room to be able to put a nut in there, let alone get a socket up there to tighten it up. There's just no room, especially when you start backing it down the pipe, and a pipe that's kinked like this, and you're trying to, it's a pain. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take a Sharpie, and then I'm just gonna scribble around on the pipe where that stud kind of sticks out on two sides. And then what I'm gonna do is, after I drop that pipe down, I'm gonna get basically just a hammer, some kind of banging device somewhere, something I can bang on that'll give me a nice, I'm gonna put a groove right where that nut goes to give it a little bit more room for a socket to kind of go up and grab the nut, and then also a little bit more room for that nut. So I'm just gonna clearance that a little bit. And then I'm going to take a look at that custom flange. When I get it down, I'll show you guys what's going on with that. It's just a flared flange, and then it's got a piece of pipe down the center of it. So it's a ball flange with a pipe down the center, and then that donut sits in that spot, kind of goes over the pipe and right there on that ball. But and then as it goes up, that center pipe is supposed to keep that donut from crushing, moving, anything like that. Really bad design, really. Well, maybe not a bad design, but just nobody uses it, nobody makes it, so you can't. So you're just always fighting it. I don't know. Maybe some FE guys out there going, oh, you can get that crap over here. I don't know. I haven't found it. So yeah. Other than that, I mean, the car looks to be good. I don't see any other problems. No engine oil leaking, tons of transmission fluid leaking. It needs suspension. I got to do all of the idler arm. Pitman arm's probably okay. I hope it's okay, because that thing's like $300. The ends actually looked in decent shape. Actually, they look new. So I don't know about the inner. And then the drag link, I don't know. But I know the idler arm needs to be replaced. The bushings are just falling apart on it. These bushings up front here are pretty cracked. But all that stuff's fine for now. I probably won't even mess with the idler right now, because it's fine, it works for now. So until I go doing suspension work, there's no point in tightening it up, because everything else is loose. So you tighten one thing up and it's just going to mess everything else up. So brake lines and exhaust pipe. Let me get that exhaust pipe dropped down so we can get in here, take a better look at it, and see exactly why this thing failed. So give me a minute. All right, we're down here on the floor under the car. This thing's super easy to take out. I'm telling you, those V-band clamps, well worth the money. So let's take a look at this. Oh, man. I'm not meant to kneel down anymore. I get so old, and you just, kneeling hurts. So this is what's left of the passenger side donut. It's pretty bad. It's supposed to look like this. Yeah. So, it's got an edge on either side of it. See the thickness. Yeah. So what this does, let me get you over here. So right here, on the flange is where this was. And that just sits on there like that. So that's what I was talking about with the custom made fitting here. Let me see if I can, this should just pop right out. Anyways, that's a piece of exhaust pipe inside of another piece of exhaust pipe with a flared flange. Now it looks like when he made this, that flare is pretty steep angled. So he's got a really steep degree on that. You can see the degree that you need. That's like a, I don't know, 30, 35 maybe. You can measure it. But when I set that on there, it really doesn't get into that flange, fit on that flange very well. It hits on this top lip, but not really on that flange piece. So anyways, that's what it's supposed to do. The center pipe just keeps it centered. That's really all it does, is locate it. They keep it right where it needs to be. So when the two pieces meet, they're centered. That's it, really. That's all it is. This is the driver's side. It's just as bad. So this one's got the, there you go, whole pipe's coming out of this one. Oh, maybe not. Oh, then that one is stuck. So I'll have to pry that off there. But yeah, they're both just absolutely blown out. Man, that's a pain. You know, every time, now it's been a couple times that I've dealt with this, and I could take it back to the exhaust shop and tell the guy, like, look, man, this thing just keeps leaking. And, you know, he might throw some stuff at it just like I did, but honestly, you know, fixing the problem, it might be a number of things. One, the angle that he's put on these flanges might be a little bit narrow. He might have to widen them out a little bit to make it fit a little bit better, maybe. And then, oh, the other thing. So let me get you over here. I'm gonna probably take you off the stand. Let me, hang on. There we go. Okay. So let me get you off the stand so I can show you the other thing I got going on here without tripping on these pipes. So this is the, that's the exhaust manifold. And so if you notice on this side over here, on the side closest to the engine, it's pretty worn out. Meaning that probably has leaked for quite a while before I even started dealing with any of this. So this side of the flange right here is real rough. It looks like it's been like eaten away by water or rust. Look at this side of the flange. See how nicely cut that is? You have a nice edge. This side is gone. The other problem is if you look, let me get that light again. Look at that nut. On the camera, it doesn't look like you can see that, but the back side of that nut is completely rotted away. I don't know if that's been too many ugga-duggas, if it's a lot of rust, and then, you know, when the car was disassembled, it fell apart. I don't know. Which is discouraging because I really just kind of wanted to throw these gaskets on and call it good. Now the threads that are missing on that stud are the ones closest. So it's like it's a stud with a like a flange, and then threads after the flange. And I don't know if it's supposed to be that way. I would suspect that it is, because I doubt anybody's ever changed those. But I wonder if that's another problem, at least with the design that I have, if I'm running those nuts all the way up and I'm thinking I'm getting them tight, but really they're just hitting that flange and bottoming out. That could be an issue. Especially you see that the thread's missing on that one. You know, you give it too many ugga-duggas up against that flange and it's just gonna, you know, turn and chew up the threads. So, I don't know. I need to work through this problem, I guess. I need to make a hard decision. Am I gonna put headers on it? Am I going to, I mean, it's like $500 for headers. I mean, I can go with some really cheap ones for like, you know, $150, $200 or something, but the reviews that I've read on those are just, you know, thin flanges that warp and leak. So then now I got leaks on the head instead of down on the collector. Or do I just buy another cast iron manifold? I have one on that other 352. I guess I could rob it off of that and put it on here, but then I'm back to this horrible flange design. I mean, the other thing that I could do, the flanges that I made, I mean, the exhaust guy kind of laughed at it, but honestly, they worked. They worked a lot better than these. They didn't have the little, you know, tube in the center, but, you know, what I did is I just bought 3 different flanges off of Amazon, found the one that matched up to the car, and then, you know, cut the back off of it. No, on that one I didn't cut the back off of it. I just trimmed it back a little bit, and then what I did is I slipped that one into the next size up, or maybe it was the next size up after that, I can't remember, where it slipped right into it. So then I just cut the flange off the front of that one, and then that was my step out. Yeah, because it was 2 steps, so it was like 2-inch to 2.5 inch, I think. So it slipped right into the 2.5 inch neck down, and then I just welded it up. It looked good, but you know, he chuckled a little bit, but you can see his crap didn't turn out that much better. So, I don't know. I guess I need to think through this problem. So that's the exhaust issue that I'm battling. And so the big decision I need to make is headers or take a manifold off that other car and try and make this work. I mean, taking a manifold off the other car is definitely cheaper. I've got some graphite spray and media blaster. I can make it look like it's the, you know, like I never did that. But what I don't want is I don't want to keep fighting this. You know, and the ultimate goal is to put this motor into the 65 convertible. So if I put this motor in the 65 convertible and there's a guy test driving the car to go buy it and it blows out the exhaust on the freeway, you know, that ain't gonna look good. Plus, you know, you don't want to do shoddy work. I don't know. I need to think through it. So let me put you guys on hold. You know, 30 minutes into the job. It's kind of end of the day. I don't know if you hear it in me. My son pretty much got my whole family sick. We went to Christmas, and he got my dad sick, which is, he's getting pretty old now. Mom took him to the hospital today, and they said everything looks fine. He's got a virus. They can't do anything for a virus. He just has to, you know, sit at home and get better. But you know, vitamins and, you know, all that kind of stuff. So, but they're worried about, you know, fluid around the heart. So, but hopefully he ends up okay. You know, of course, when you got, you know, a little 2-year-old running around, they're just like a germ factory. So it's like a never-ending sickness for our family. It's just constant. Everybody's just constantly sick. But you know, it seems like that's the way it goes in these these days, really. There's always something crazy. You know, I read online that there's some month-long cough, they're calling it, coming out of Canada or something. I don't know. So anyways, a little bit sick, so I got a late start today. Now I need to go sit down and figure out what I'm going to do. I'm going to start running through the cost of each of my ideas. Either I'm going to put headers on it, or I'm going to take that other manifold, which obviously is cheaper, but then I'm going to have to battle this. Do I want the headaches from battling this, or do I want the cost from just being done with it? So that's the question. Ultimately, I think the headers would look better and function better in the convertible, but man, you know, right after Christmas, it's a lot of money. So, all right, let me get back with you guys. I think my ranting and raving was already at like a half-hour of video, so that's pretty much like an episode. Yeah, I'm not going to end you guys here though. I'll figure out what we're going to do. We'll get this thing buttoned up, and we'll get this car back running again. So, all right, guys, I'll be right back with you. All right, my fellow bums, I am back. It is multiple days later. Not sure how many, but been a few. I had to really figure out what I was going to do with this car, because obviously I don't want to put a lot of money into it. However, that whole drivetrain is going to go into the convertible. So in thinking about this whole process, I thought, you know what? It's not a bad idea, because if I build the drivetrain that's going to go into the convertible and I build it in the hardtop, then I can do two things at once. I can refine the drivetrain and make the motor, trans, everything work real well. At the same time, I can cut the floor pans out of the convertible, replace those, start working on the body, work on the brakes and that kind of stuff while doing this at the same time. So I can drive the car around and make sure that the headers aren't going to leak and the transmission's operating fine and all this kind of stuff. So with that thought, I went ahead and pulled the trigger and I ordered the headers for an FE. These are just off of Summit. They're made by Sanderson. Honestly, for $500, I thought they should look a little bit nicer than this. But, you know, as long as they work, I mean, do you need anything other than that? You know, they look horrible though, honestly. It looks like a 2-year-old welded with a flux core MIG. You know, I mean, I could sit down and go through and weld it up nice, but as long as it works. So if I bolt it up and everything works fine, does it really matter how it looks? So the outside of them, they look really nice. Looks like any other header you'd ever, you know, see, you know, out there in the world. So, but you can see, I don't know if you can see in that collector, it's just bad. And then if you look here on the flange, so if you look, you can see that this weld right here is the actual mating surface. And so what they did was they put the tube through the flange, welded it, and then blanch or ground that weld down. And so from what I can tell, they do look fairly straight and flat. So, you know, maybe that's good. So that's the plan. So what I'm going to do with these is I'm going to put them in the media blaster and media blast them, of course. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some of that graphite spray. I haven't done that with headers, but I can't see it really being any different. So with these not being ceramic coated, because again, I don't want to spend the extra $200 for ceramic coated. I think if I just put these in the media blaster, clean the metal surface up, spray them down with some graphite, put them in the oven, bake them, and then basically anytime after you media blast, you don't touch them with your fingers. So clean, dry gloves, that kind of stuff. Don't get any of your oils and that kind of stuff on there. And then when you install them into the car, same thing. You know, use a pair of gloves. Make sure that you're not doing anything else around that until the motor fires. Once the motor fires and these things get up to temp, you're good after that. You can touch them all day. But until then, you'll see your fingers. So you don't want to do that. So these are they're okay. For $500, I thought they should be nicer. However, you know, they're okay, they'll work. So they did come with a 3-inch collector, and then they give you the 3-inch collector neck down to 2.5, because that's what my exhaust is. So when you order these, you can order them different. If you have 3-inch exhaust, you can order them 3 and 3, you know, whatever. I'm not sure if they go any lower than, they might go down to 2 1/4, I don't know. So, but that's it. The collector, again, I mean, the ends are really rough. I suppose they feel that you're probably gonna work on these or something, I don't know. So, lots of little boogers all over it. But the flange, you know, it's just a metal on metal connection. You can see right here on this one, that is really bad right there. That could leak. What I could do is take the TIG and smooth that out and then grind that down. Of course, doing that, you do risk the chance of it warping, but I don't know. But in case I don't like this or this doesn't work, I got some stainless V-band clamps. They're 3-inch. So on this, I would have to actually run a neck down. But what I figured I could do is just cut that off, weld that to that, and then there you go. There's your neck down to 2.5. So I'd prefer not to use these because the Camaro is 3.5-inch collector, or I'm sorry, 3-inch collector with a 3-inch exhaust. A little big on that car, honestly. I don't know who put the 3-inch exhaust, but the car did sound good. So, and with that new Texas Speed performance motor, it's probably still overkill for that, but at least it's going to flow. So, the fear with going too big is you don't want the exhaust to tumble as it goes down the pipe. If it starts doing that, obviously that tumbling is going to restrict that flow. You want it to flow real fast out of the pipe. And so what you find is that those cars that make that little high-pitched, popping, gurgling, screaming, bubbly, stupid sound, those are actually reducing the power, because that sound you're actually hearing is the exhaust tumbling on itself, which is slowing down the flow. The way you make power is to get air in, get air out. That's how you make power. These should help with that. Now, I'm not going to say this is going to add like 50 horsepower to the car or anything else like that, but looking at, like, we'll take a look at those stock manifolds when I take them off. Compared to these, the stock manifolds are very restricted. So these are nice and big and open. They should do great. So hopefully it might make it sound a little bit better and make it a little bit more snappy on the throttle. So that's the hope. But at least if I can get it just to stop leaking altogether, that's what I really bought these for. So sorry, I know I'm always saying this, but I'm still fighting a cold. So this is Mr. Gasket's gasket, the one that they recommended, and that is it's not even close. It's not even the same car. What is this for? I don't even know what this is for. It said it was for, oh yeah, 302 351. Well, that ain't gonna work. I guess I need to read the descriptions a little bit better. I do have another set of gaskets out there anyways. I was just, like I said, I like having spare parts around so that if something happens, I can just immediately dip into the parts bin and grab what I need. And so I was kind of ordering these to use on the car. I do have another set out there. I think it's just one more set. So I'm fine on gaskets. I did order the new Willwood brake lines because as we saw in that a few seconds ago, they were crushed. So what I'm going to do with these, when you put an AN line in, you know, you can tighten it up, but you can also put a twist on it so that it puts a little curly cue kind of in the line to pull it up out of the way. When I first installed those, they looked okay to me, so I didn't do anything like that. Obviously, they were not okay. As the suspension dipped and the wheel turned, it smashed the line. So this time, these are 14-inch, so these are a lot shorter. And yeah, 14-inch, 3/8, 24. So these will do great. I'll put a little twist in it so that as it comes out, it kind of does like a little twisty bend and then up into the caliper. That'll do great. So that'll fix that. The kickdown rod, I don't really love on that car, so I went ahead and got the low car kickdown cable for a C6. It's not specific to the Galaxie, because when I looked it up, they're like, oh, we don't have anything for the Galaxie. But then I look up and there's plenty of stuff for a C6 with a 428, 390, which is the same thing. The car doesn't matter, it's the motor and trans. That's what this is connected to. But, you know, sometimes the description and stuff when you're reading through that kind of on Summit and Jags or whoever, you know, that you look up vehicle specific stuff, especially for when I do that with the Galaxie. What they do a lot is it immediately drops to the small block, and that's probably how I ended up with this. Me not paying attention and then looking up vehicle specific stuff, they only list the small block for the Galaxie. They don't list any of the big blocks. So sometimes you can't go off that vehicle specific stuff. And then lastly, I went ahead and picked up some of this Stage 8. They're the locking fasteners for the manifolds. So hopefully these will work on here. From what I'm seeing, they should work fine. You know, there might be these two on the bottom. No, they should even go on those. So those might be a little hard to get to, I'll tell you that. But so that's what we got. That's my plan. I also have another C6 coming. It'll be here tomorrow morning. A good friend of mine, I don't know if you remember when I was doing the build on that car when we were going to the power tour. I said, oh, a buddy of mine's got a C6, but I don't know if I can put it in a day. Well, I went ahead and reached back out to him. He said, yeah, I still have it. You can have it, you know, cheap price. And so I told him, okay, great. So he's actually going to bring that up to me tomorrow and drop that off. I traded him for my media blaster. He's going to blast a bunch of stuff for his car. So it's always good to have friends with parts and tools and that kind of stuff. You can always trade. So he's going to come up. I'm going to get that. So the next episode is going to be installing these headers, installing the new transmission. I'm going to send the drive shaft out and have it balanced so that I can reduce any of that rotational vibration that I was getting on the way out to Vegas. Now, I'm pretty sure I still have bent axles in the back. And the way I'm going to fix that is obviously take them out of the convertible. But before I do that, I want to check the convertible and make sure they're not bent. So again, building my hardtop to prove the drivetrain that's going to eventually go into the convertible. So when I switch over to the convertible, I won't take the axle out of my hardtop. I'll just pull, or the whole differential, I mean, I'll just take the axles out of the side and then pop them back into that one. So it'll have the motor, trans, drive shaft, exhaust out of my hardtop will go right into that convertible. And then all I have to do is build that back half of the exhaust for that car. And then when I drop the small block into my car, all I got to do is just the front half of the exhaust, trans and drive shaft. So yeah. Also, since we're going to be building the Camaro, that has a 9-inch in it, and it's got a really nice gear set. Can't remember exactly off the top of my head, but I remember it had a good gear set, and it's got posi traction. So I'm going to pull that third member, pop that into my car. So there's a good third member for me. The transmission, I'm still up in the air about. Not really sure what I'm going to do. The Camaro's going to get a 6-speed right off the bat. That's going to get 6-speed. When I do the rear end, because I don't want to, you know, play the drive shaft game multiple times. So for now, it's going to get motor, trans, everything running, driving. Once I prove the motor, trans, and there's no more problems with that, when I go to do the rear end, trans will come out, rear end will go in, 6-speed will go in, new drive shaft will go in. Then I'll have a 5-speed trim mix sitting there. So I think I got an idea where I'm gonna put that too. But anyways, that's the update. That's where we're at on both Galaxies. So next episode, we're going to put all this in the car. We're going to put the headers in, transmission in, balance the drive shaft like I said, and we're going to take the car out and run it around and test it out and see how it does. So also pop the axles out of the convertible in once we've tested them, of course. So stay tuned. Make sure you check that next episode. If you haven't already done so, please like and subscribe. Click that bell so that when we go to do this work, you're right there with me. So, all right, guys, I appreciate you very much, and until next time.